Hi, this is Gary with Aldan American. Today we're going to do a coilover installation on the '63 Nova, or better known as a Chevy II. The first thing we need to do is measure the ride height so that we know where the car is when we start it. So to measure the car, what I like to do is go from the fender through the center line of the wheel and tire, just like this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the inner panel from the fender well that also holds the bump stop. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the lower shock mount. There's two nuts on the bottom side and we'll have to get them with an extension and a wrench. In order to remove the spring on the Nova, we're going to have to use an internal spring compressor. So what I do is I drop all the pieces inside, assemble it, and compress the spring, and then we can safely remove the spring. So anytime we're working with a coil spring and a coil spring compressor, we have to be extremely careful because it's very dangerous. We have to make sure that the compressor's pulling correctly, and also when you come time to remove the spring compressor, because the spring's under a lot of load, we want to do it on the ground, flat, and make sure you're very careful and nobody's around that you can hurt. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the upper brackets. Now on these early Novas, there's a little lip here in the sheet metal that has to be trimmed so the bracket will sit flat on the fender well. Now that we've cleaned the lip up, we're going to set the bracket down and test how it fits. We're now going to take and install our upper brackets, but first we have to drill a couple of holes. So what I've done is I've put a couple of bolts on the outboard holes to line everything up, and then I'm going to drill the inside holes. The inside holes that have to be drilled, there's a reinforcing plate for the upper spring pocket that we have to drill through. So after I drill the inboard holes, what I'm going to do is take the bolts out of the outboard side, move them to the inboard side so that we can maintain our relationship for this bracket. After we drill our holes, we're going to take the two washers here and we're going to put them between the upper layer and the spring pocket layer that we just drilled through to take up the space. So the next thing we're going to do is remove our lower spring seat. We're going to now install our pieces that go underneath. We have a ring and we have three of these crescents. So the ring goes all the way up and supports the coilover kit from the original spring pocket. But the spring pocket is not flat up in the upper side. So we're going to put one crescent on the outboard side and the other two crescents will go on the bottom side to support everything. So now we're going to install our lower bracket to the upper control arm. So now we're going to install the shock. So this is our double adjustable shock. So it has a compression adjuster with 6 positions and it has a rebound adjuster with 11 positions. So because this is a real lightweight car in the front, I'm going to set my compression at number 1, and on the rebound I'm going to go like 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to use that as my starting point and drive the car, see how it feels, and make adjustments from there. So now we're going to torque all of our hardware down. The 1/2-inch bolts which hold the shocks to the brackets, we're going to torque those to 75 foot-pounds. All of the hardware that's the 3/8, we're going to torque to 35 foot-pounds. So we're going to start setting our ride height. So what we want to do is use our spanner wrench. We're going to put 1 inch of preload on the spring, and we're going to use that as our starting point. Put the car on the ground, check it, drive it around the block, see what the ride height is, and if we need to raise or lower it from there, we will do so. So once we've set our ride height, we're going to use the Allen wrench and we're going to tighten the set screw on the spring seat. So anytime you make an adjustment, you want to make sure that the set screw is loosened so that it'll move, and after you've made the adjustment, you want to tighten it down so that it can't move. After we finalize our ride height, then we'll reinstall our inner shield with the bump stop on it. We're now going to move to the rear of the car. We're going to put our smooth body double adjustable shock on. So now we're going to put our upper loop to post adapter on. We want to put it on so that the bolt hole on the bracket is parallel to the bolt holes on the bracket itself. We're going to drop the large washer on, we're going to drop the nut on, and then we will tighten it in place. We're now going to torque our shock bolts down to 75 foot-pounds. So now we're going to do our preliminary adjustments on our shock. This is the double adjustable shock. So the lower is the compression. There's 6 points. So we're going to set it at number 1, which is the softest position. We're going to go out and drive the car, see how it feels, see how much more compression we need to add to it due to driving style and owner's taste. Now on the upper is the rebound. We're going to do the same thing, but what I'm going to do is go full counterclockwise till it stops. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 clicks and use that as my starting point. And just like the compression side, we want to go out and drive the car and see what it needs. So now we've completed our installation. We're going to put our front wheels back on, put the car on the ground. Then we'll go out and we'll drive it, see what kind of adjustments we need to make to either the ride height or the shock tuning. And for more information, check us out at aldanamerican.com.